Hello, hello. Can you hear me? We're still starting soon. There you are. Oh. Why am I so zoomed in? Oh, bouncy cam. Oh wait. Oh wait. Am I on Elliot cam? Is that why? Because I'm like, am I like not centered in frame? Oh, because my camera is pointed like way off to the left of me. We're doing this on the fly tonight, guys. There we go. There's the usual cam. Yes, I'm not even wearing a hat. I was gonna say, yeah, that's usually why I wear a hat in here, so I don't have chrome dome head. It's just hot in here, so I can put it on for now. If it gets too hot, I'm taking it back off. I don't know. Chat is in mime mode. Nice, Ryan. I don't know why you're in mute. I hear chat just fine. So while Chad does that, how are you all doing? Thanks for joining. We're gonna talk as much cars as we can because we got lots going on. Otherwise, we have Carlisle this weekend, which for those of you that don't know, it's Carlisle Import and Performance Nationals. Basically just big field in Pennsylvania, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, where a bunch of cool cars get together, mostly imports, some domestics because it's you know, imports and oh. I'm hearing myself. Oh, I gotcha. So I'll just keep talking. So basically, Carlisle, PA, it's this weekend. It's Import and Performance Nationals, mostly imports. There are domestics that show up because it's import and performance, obviously. So use a whole bunch of like random cool stuff that shows up, and it's just a great show. So we're preparing for that. But also, personally, my wife is graduating from grad school tomorrow. So we are in the throes of that, trying to get stuff ready. I ripped the car seats out of my car. You can probably see one of them is just sitting right here off to my left. We got to load up the car tonight. We also have Kate's family in town from all over the country,
Family.
Louisiana, family from Louisiana, from Washington State, and Pennsylvania. So like all, from all over. Thank you,
Okay.
Vic. Appreciate it. Been a long 2.5 years for Kate. So she's really excited to get done with grad school and be back to normalcy where she doesn't have to stay up and do homework every night and such. Um, and she is in information science doing a degree to become a librarian, and she is a librarian now, associate. She'll become a full-time librarian as of tomorrow, basically. So very cool. The Chad's in Phantom of the Opera now. Yeah, just only hear him, never see him. Um,
I
dun, 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 dun,
think
dun.
I fixed it. No, so what I did, not to cut you off, but to let
Yeah, yeah.
everyone know, I messed around because I was trying to isolate audio tracks in the broadcasting software we use, so that when I go and I edit this stuff, I can I can individually mute me and not mute the whole thing. So
Ah, interesting.
that was a big old fail. So I got everything back on
Interesting.
the right audio tracks, and I'm gonna have to work on that. Uh, Streamlabs has been a bit funky. I still haven't fixed out the audio glitch to where not you don't hear Greg directly from the video conferencing program we use. You have to hear him via my desktop. So if Greg seems out of sync, it's because he's an alien.
That's probably right.
But congratulations
Also,
to your wife.
thank you very much, and good luck to Doug in the fall training, doing grad school for seminary. Very cool. Nice. Good luck with that. Um, we hope you continue to watch the stream because I know from firsthand accounts that grad school is tough. It takes a lot of time.
Life hack. If you're not sure what you want to do, go into the trades or junior college. I have 3 associate's degrees.
I still don't know what I want to do, and I have a degree, and I'm not going for any more. I'm okay. I'm out. I'm out.
Do they even offer
I,
like masters in communication? It's like,
yeah, they do, but it's like more focused. Like you do like a master's in marketing or a master's in master's in business admin or some stupid crap like that. Um, but yeah, I Shark Tanked that right away. I was like, and for that reason, I'm out.
yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
so lots of stuff going on then, and then to after tomorrow, obviously going up to Carlisle Friday morning. I'll be there Friday and Saturday. And then we are, for those that are in the shift squad or know of the stuff, we're heading over to Doug's house for a little outdoor movie, so it should be fun. Um, it's going to be good, but we can talk about cool car stuff in the meantime. And Chadson, how are you today?
doing well. It's been a day. I guess this kind of leads me into sort of the first topic I wanted to oofa. Excuse me. The first topic I kind of wanted to discuss, and that is I got a new car. Well, I didn't get it. We're in the process. Paperwork will be signed tomorrow. But to discuss what it is, some of you know, so please do not spoil the surprise in chat. I know who you are, and you will not be getting your complimentary chat T-shirt if you spoil that surprise. But
It's a Yugo.
you got a Yugo. But I did. So we'll be signing paperwork tomorrow. Well, when I say we, I mean me. And then hopefully the car itself is here at some point next week. And then the week after that, we will be doing. And I just want to make sure everyone in here, please signal in chat that you are in fact paying attention because this is a big one. So like I said, I should get the car at some point next week. Uh, Probably later in the week than our stream. So the week after that, I will be doing a reveal. And we will be doing that reveal live for our supporters on Facebook. And then we will have a private viewing for other individuals on the YouTube channel. Mark, you do know, and shush, or your shirt's going to say something completely different than we agreed on. And if I will say this, Mark and Doug were very helpful in helping me find a vehicle, even though the vehicles that they were checking in on for me, for one reason or another, didn't end up being the vehicle I bought. They're actually extremely helpful in just being an asset, being a bro, just saying, yeah, absolutely, I'll go. In Anthony's case, he drove, I think, an hour and a half out of his way to go look at a car for me. So as a thank you, they will be getting custom, one of a kind, never before seen again shirts sent to them. But yeah, so not Wednesday. Hoping for Wednesday the 22nd, if not the 29th. We'll be doing a reveal. To those of you in Shift Squad on Facebook, pay attention. We'll send the dates out. And then, like I said, there are some friends of the channel that we will be giving the private link to view on YouTube if they're not a member. But people like, he may be a part of the show, but people like Elliot and some of like Elliot's OGs and some other that. But yeah, it's pretty darn exciting. This car that I'm getting, all I will say is that when it's mechanically finished, it will be making more power at the wheel than my Mustang did. Which, by the way, I saw, which finally got the blue sky, which I finally saw. So at some point in the coming weeks, I will be tearing into that, getting the interior out, and all the parts out and stuff, because basically that's going to help finance the next build. But more than 705 wheel horsepower in the next car to make Greg feel small. No, because I'm addicted to horsepower. It's a lot like heroin, only more expensive.
Yes, I mean you're not wrong.
30
But fantastically better for you physically.
One would argue it.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Yes. Thankfully, the risk of spontaneously combusting with the drugs is. There we go. Sorry, Greg was resizing himself. That sounded. Dirty.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I just saw me floating in the abyss there for a second.
And also, since we have a few people in here, actually, I think our next thing we'll go into is I'm thinking about getting a vanity plate for this car, and I don't want something kind of like funny or like my first thought was like getting a vanity plate that was like Phoenix, which was a little too on the nose, and then I realized someone in my state absolutely has that license plate. And then I was like, oh, it'd be funny to have a plate that just said FIREDMG, fire damage.
I like that.
But the leader in the clubhouse for me right now, so just so you guys know, is it's kind of bland, it's kind of boring, but it does have a lot of meaning, and that is, to anyone who knows who's watched the series, that car is called Project 412. The reason why 412, it's not because I'm de-stroking a Coyote to make it rev to like 12,000 RPM, as cool as that would be. And 412 is a displacement or something. Well, I guess that would be literage in cubic inches. That would be much larger. 412, as in 4.12, is April 12th. April 12th is my father's birthday. To those of you who don't know, he's no longer with us. But without him, I am not into cars. I am not on this show. I'd be as far as to say, as Greg and I don't become as good of friends as we are today, much probably to the dismay of Greg. But that's the leader in the clubhouse. And Any ideas you guys want to throw? Um, go throw it in chat while Greg. I think this is a good time to ask a question. There's animals thundering in the floor above me. That's awesome. Greg, what are you looking forward to most at Carlisle?
Well, before I say that, really quick, I have a pitch for you on your license plate. I think it should just be HWPR LOL, so horsepower LOL, and yeah, that's a good one. But that feel like that one belongs more on an STI or a clapped out Civic than
Right, I see a lot of those on. I see a lot of those on like imports and stuff. Like, I did think about like
yeah,
waiting, seeing what the final power figure was, but like, nah. Like,
yeah.
I kind of want to. If I, like I said, I like 412. I was even thinking of like, um, you know, HCAT LOL, like
Or just
but
go after the Civics with laptops and just be like LPTP lol, like laptop lol. I'll take on your damn Civic with a laptop. Let's go.
like, and then there was other things like IH. Like, I was trying to like, because like the number one thing that I get when I go to like these little car meets, or like I run into guys with modified cars, because there's a car club that meets at my local Wawa, and I used to drive by them, and some of them were chill and cool and had pretty decent cars. Other of them were good people, but like, bro, pay attention. Boosted. Say someone had a bigger turbo on their Volkswagen or something like that. So like my inspiration, and they'd like be like, haha, I got something for that big old American barge. I'm making blah 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 at so and so PSI, yada yada yada. And I just wanted my plate to have some variation of I have boost too.
I like that. Boosted GT or
Yeah,
something like that.
except boosted and boosted GT is actually a person in Street Outlaws, and I don't want to
Oh,
like
right.
be like,
Uh,
this
I
guy's
like
a
I like Vic's suggestion instead. MPG lol. That's
yeah.
good. That's even better. Perfect. I like that.
Yeah, like
But to your original question, the thing I'm looking forward to most at Carlisle is just wandering around and seeing all the cars, because usually there's something that someone has brought randomly that always is cool. The one year all those Opel GTs were there, which was very cool. I had never really seen an Opel GT in person. There was like 20 or 30 of them, and I'm like, this is really neat. Another year someone brought a Jaguar like XJ, like an old 90s or early 2000s XJ or something like that, and I made a Ute out of it, which I thought was really cool. It's like, so like random things like that. You always see something that comes out to Carlisle. So just wandering around, seeing cool cars. That's the reason I go. Obviously to see Volvo people and see all you guys that are going to go, and say hello to Volvo friends. But um, see cool cars. I might live stream the exhaust competition this year, just because I don't want to get into it. I've done it 2 years and made the finals. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna win it, especially if the same guys are there that are always are. Like my car sounds good, but there are definitely better sounding cars. So I may live stream that. So that might be on Facebook or TikTok or something like that, which would be cool. And then I'd say like probably lastly, just to see if there's anything cool for sale. Last year there was a flash green. I want to say it was over Atacama. That peanut buttery interior S60 R from the P2 generation that someone was selling for like $12,000 or whatever. It was repainted, but it was pretty cool. People always bring out interesting cars to sell, but also if you have a 240 or know anyone that has a 240, Aaron Whitesell from Valhalla is going to be there, and he's going to bring a whole bunch of parts from our green 240 and sell those to help fund that build a little bit. The some of the stuff that we don't need for the build he's bringing out. I think there's a 240 GT front end. I believe there's a flat hood. There's probably like $1,500 to $2,000 worth of parts in there that he's bringing out. So he will have he will have a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm interested to see one, what he brings, and two, if we can make any money at it, and three, if there's anything else for sale there, because there's always fun stuff. This oh, wrong side. This shifting lanes plate that I got. I'll be bringing that, but I got that there last year, which is pretty cool. And they always have like vendors like selling cool things. So yeah, just a couple different things that I'm excited about, and of course to see all the Volvo brethren, which is always fun. So I'll be seeing you guys mid Friday morning as I leave early.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do apologize. I'm not gonna be able to make it this year. I have a golf trip this weekend. We're going out, basically replacing like a bachelor/bachelorette party. Because my friend, she's getting married in June. Fuck, that's coming up. I'm in
Wedding
no way.
gift.
I'm in no way. Oh, pfft. They put right on their registry like just donate to our honeymoon. It's like done. Um,
Oh, so much easier. I love that.
like
Venmo me $100 for my honeymoon. The end. Great. Done.
like that's but it's one of those things where it wasn't like, hey, can we have this weekend? Because it's like there's 8 or 9 of us, so this was the weekend we could all go. So a little bummed that I won't be able to make it, but to Steve's point way earlier in the show, and by way earlier I mean like 18 minutes ago.
Before we even got on.
Well, I was in chat talking to people while I was doing some other stuff.
Yeah, no, I know.
And we will be doing a meetup this year. Greg and I just got to work the dates out. There's a lot of moving parts in our lives right now. Like Greg said, the wife is graduating, the wife's starting a new job. Like he has kids. Like there's a lot of stuff. So we're trying to plan something out and try to pick like some dates, like a few, more than one, but not like somebody pick a weekend in Q3. Like not like that kind of nonsensical stuff. But we are working on some dates. We'll probably post a lot of that stuff in the supporter group, and then probably when we do it, we'll probably transition and put a link for that, and we'll probably start discussing it a little more and kind of restart the Discord page just so we can have a conversation there. So that people who want to come, we'll obviously give our subscribers, or not our subscribers, our supporters on Facebook and our members on YouTube kind of priority as far as, whether or not we choose a certain date. But everyone is invited. So if you're not a supporter, don't worry about it. And then we'll probably throw it in the Discord and we'll give a link to that when the time comes. But it is definitely something I want to do. I like meeting with you guys. I shouldn't say most. All of you that I've met are really chill, really good dudes, and it's definitely something. That to me is more fun than anything else at Carlisle. For me, it's just meeting people, seeing their cars, seeing their passion. And especially putting faces to names. Getting to meet people like Anthony, Doug. And my brain just shut off. So many of you that if I can't remember your name off the top of my head, it's because I'm an idiot. But to me, that's more than just going, because like there are some cool cars there. There are some cars that are like, moving on, but like meeting people that we pretty much talk to every week was, like I said, was arguably one of the coolest parts of that. That is unfortunate, Cody. Good luck on that. Anywho, where was I? I think that's it. Doug will be back. Anthony's thanking him for that, and right. So, Greg, I heard you're getting a bigger turbo.
No.
F's in chat.
F in chat. F in chat for the Mopar Dilly.
The missing women's entertainment aid.
Oh man. Speaking of that, great transition. I literally walked into Target the other day, and it was one of the Targets where you walk in. It's actually
Backwards?
the one in Rockaway, Chad. You could walk in and see this. I walked in on the left-hand side of the one in Rockaway. It's one of the Targets where you walk in, and directly to the right or directly to the left, sorry, is the pharmacy. And around there is all like the stuff. I walked in, I looked directly to the left, and staring you in the face are marital aids that just like Cody is talking about. And I literally am looking like, there's no way this is at the entrance of a Target. I walk over there's ones for men and women. And I'm like, what world am I living in where this is in a Target?
Are you sure it was an actual?
Walked...
Are you sure it was Target and not the store next to Target?
Yes. Well, the store next to Target is actually named Dick's, but that's a sporting goods store, as we all know. So,
is it?
I mean, at least it seems like it. They got lacrosse sticks in there, but
not helping your case.
I literally walked into this Target and I was like, "There's no way." So I walked over. I'm like, "Yep, there they are, right there, smack dab, right as you walk in." I go, maybe you should put that towards like the back wall and not the entrance of a Target. Like this. I was just so taken aback by it. I mean, it's fine. You want to do that, go right ahead. I'm not judging at all, literally at all. That's you, personal thing. Don't care. But it's literally as you walk into a Target, and I'm like, that's new. That's new. I've never seen that.
So Greg
weird.
immediately left the Target and then re-entered it backwards, looking over his shoulder.
Re-entered it backwards and then immediately did a right turn because that would be backwards left.
Now, a missed marketing opportunity is also having Vaseline right there next to the display. Just saying.
Yes. Now sponsored by a different kind of petroleum product. Hashtag Astroglide.
So anyway, Cody, the Target in Rockaway, New Jersey. There you go.
There you go. That's what you need.
What else did I want to I did go and I think I mentioned it, but I went and I saw the Mustang. I need to find my N gauge so we can. N gauge is the tuner that comes with that I got from Lund that does the tune.
Right.
We have to see if we because that's like a $500 piece of equipment.
I don't want to buy that again.
Again, or if you can remove the VIN from it, you can sell it.
Oh.
It's what's known as an unmarried. Because most tuners, whether you go to make it Volvo-ish, like whether you go with Hilton or Shark or even like an Elevate or any of them, once you associate that tuner to a VIN, it's to that car for the rest of time.
Yeah.
You can upload.
I think that's the same with Cobb and access ports for Subarus. I think you got to buy a new one.
But no, I mean, that does bring me to a very, very interesting point. And if he's in here or if he's back, I think only Doug would know this. But Greg.
Yes.
You know how late model F-150s have been utilizing the Coyote engine platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since I think 20 or 21, they have been utilizing the exact same short block. Actually, it might even be the same long block. Block, pistons, heads, crank, everything. But basically, apart from the intake manifold and the cams, it's exactly the same as a Mustang, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you would think that everything is pretty much similar. It's just tuned slightly different for torque. You would, however, be wrong because they have different firing orders, which blew my mind when I found that out.
I think you had said this the other day, and that is just that's wild to me. Like
same crank,
it's the same motors, essentially, right?
Yeah.
It's the same motor, but there's a different firing order for the Mustang versus an F-150, and that to me is just super weird. Like that's Volvo quirky to me. That's something that like a Volvo who's known for like their quirkiness as an OEM would do. Like I would never expect that from Ford ever. But
But
why?
my guess, and the best guess that we were able to come up with, was in conjunction with the different intake manifold. Uh, Hello to Migs over on the YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. He actually has a Hellcat, so
Ooh.
Mopar guy, and he has thoughts on Cody. But
Mopar, no car.
our thought was that since they optimized the intake manifold for torque, right? So very short runners, very not like equal length or any. They're just designed because basically when you look at an intake manifold, the longer the runners, the higher high RPM horsepower is. Shorter the runners, the more torque you get. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's a general gist of it, especially in the Coyote world.
Yeah.
So my only guess was that manifold, and with the cam, that profile that they used, having that firing order was better for torque. Better for
Yeah.
better for truck stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the only two places my brain went was one, power application, and two, balance. But like, I don't know if a different firing order would really do all that much for balancing. So it
Especially
had
with
to
the
have
same
been
crank. So it's basically
right,
so you have the two pistons at top dead center. Just in a Mustang, one is firing, in an F-150, the other is, but not
right.
you know, or not top dead
So
center, but at
yeah,
the top of their stroke.
right,
Uh,
right. So yeah, that's super odd. But like, did you like dig into it at all as to like, did you find a reasoning why, or are you just still just guessing on like torque
I
application?
tried to Google it, and most people think it's just some basically optimize that platform as a truck engine. But here's the thing: you literally swap out cams, and you can tune it to a Mustang firing order.
Yeah. Okay.
But like it was interesting to me
This
because
this is the new junkyard LS. We're gonna start getting junkyard F-150s and then just recamming them to get Mustang motors and then shoving them into everything.
But here's the thing: is if anybody who's paid any sort of attention to Cletus in the last 6 months, those trucks, man, are stupid how fast you can make them. Because
Yeah,
four
that's
wheel
true.
drive, four wheel drive system's pretty freaking robust. They come with 10R80s, and you don't have to do. Basically, I'll put it to you this way: if you did the same exact mods, except go with a positive displacement supercharger over a centrifugal or centrifugal, um, you'd be knocking on the doors. You'd be easily into the tens.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, and it's a truck, and like the reason why this is becoming so prevalent now is that Ford just unlocked the ECUs. So Ford does this really
Uh,
weird thing recently, and the S650 guys are finding this out the hard way right now. Is that the ECUs, when Ford unlocks them, tuning becomes, I don't want to say easy, but people like Lund have it figured out. It's still a Coyote engine. It's still 12-to-1 compression. Yes, the
right.
new Gen 4s have slightly different intake well, not slightly, very different intake manifolds. They have twin 53 millimeter throttle bodies as opposed to one 85 or 90 millimeter throttle body. So they're sucking in a little bit more air. There's some other modifications. So that's why they get to like 480, almost 500. Uh, but the thing is that John Lund, and we can spend an entire segment talking about this guy, but if he gets direct access from Ford like he does on every other Coyote platform, it's nuts how close they get with their first initial bass tune. Like, because I was talking to some other people and everything, and My dyno session was, I think, 3 hits.
Yeah, you didn't do too many. You
4.
did just a few.
Because he knows the platform inside out and backwards. Now,
Hmm.
he's the king of the Ford computer. To give you an idea, they have a race car with 2400 horsepower, stock case of a 6R80 with the final 2 gears basically deleted, but there's still these planetary sets in there. So
Yeah.
it's not ideal. Like they're probably, if they want to go faster, they probably have to go to like a Turbo 400 or a Glide. And but that's all on the stock computer. Transmission control, engine control, stock computer. The stock computer goes as far. It can do speed density. It can do math. It can do individual spark per cylinder and individual fuel per cylinder. Like,
That's crazy.
it's what they're.
This really like it sort of almost makes me want to do what I did the short form video on back in November, where I know a couple of shops offer it. But specifically it was the one from TC Customs down in Alabama. I think it was Alabama. Um,
Roll
but
Tide.
they're basically a they're the yeah they're basically a Ford dealer that does 700 horsepower F-150s out the door with a warranty, and it's like 46 and change, like just shy of 47 grand or just shy of 48 grand or whatever out the door, and there's no markup. It's literally like I think it's a 2021 or a 2022 F-150 that they throw a Roush supercharger on it. You can do other stuff. But you could basically, if you wanted, you could get like a work truck, a single cab work truck with like a Roush supercharger on it and Steelies. So that's pretty freaking cool, honestly. Like this conversation makes me rethink things from like I really want a sports car perspective. It's like, well, you know what else would be really freaking awesome? A 700 horsepower work truck. Like
Yes.
it's kind of badass. It's like, I'm not gonna
Well, I
lie.
mean, right. Put some good suspension on that, right?
Yep,
And
which they can do. There are other add-ons they can do. You can put like nicer wheels, good suspension on it, lowering kit, things like that to
you'd
like
want a
help
good
lower center of gravity. Things,
you'd want a good
whatever.
lowering kit, but you got to be careful with trucks because same thing. So anyone here who has a C30 will know if you lower it too much, the axle angle becomes like this, and that's when you start to really just go through axles, like
Yeah.
um, and everything. But good little suspension setup, like those trucks are nuts, and that's something Ford does that I haven't really seen many Chevy. I'm sure there's a Chevy equivalent, but you don't see it. But Ford since the 2015 Mustang came out, they had partnerships with Roush and they had partnerships with Whipple. So you could
Yeah.
get a Whipple supercharged, extremely conservatively tuned. Like we're talking a lot of meat on the table if you got the right fuel system behind it.
Meat.
All that meat, brother.
Meat.
But they've been doing it since 2015
Yeah.
because some of
Yeah,
the
these shops they've been doing it for a while, for sure.
some of the cars I came across in my travels, one of which was a 2015 Mustang GT, like mine, but it had a Gen 5 3-liter Whipple, which is nuts to me. Just to put that into perspective, that Whipple displaces as much air as Greg's entire engine.
Yep. Like that's crazy.
So like, we're talking well over we're talking easily over 700 horsepower at the crank, probably 650 ish at the wheel. Installed by a Ford dealer, Ford's like, "Yep, we'll warranty that." So it's
Yeah.
like it's
Like
just
that's cool to me. Like that's something that I would really be I would actually consider because one, I mean it's a truck. I can do truck things with it. I could take it to Home Depot, fill the entire bed full of mulch, which I do every year, and it takes me like 5 trips because my wife is either using her SUV for something else, and I can do wagon things in this. Yeah, it's fine, but like, I need like 70 bags of mulch, and in either of our cars, it's not really going to work with one trip. Like we with both cars, we need to take 2 or 3 trips. And then there's also topsoil, which we need to do and grow grass.
Question for you: why aren't you just
Yeah.
getting it delivered by the yard?
Because when you do delivery, it depends on where they get it from, and a lot of the delivery in our area takes it from woods with a lot of poison oak and poison ivy. And people in our area have said that they've actually gotten poison ivy from the mulch that's been delivered because there have been like noticeable leaves in there. So we just get it from the bags. It's not like all that much worse as far as price is concerned. It's still pretty cheap. You can get, 5 bags for like $10, which is pretty decent when they do the sales. So it's really not that bad price wise. And like a full yard actually, I think would be too much for my property because we only do like around our garden beds and trees. So we probably have a bunch left over, honestly.
Gotcha. I did that
Yeah.
for my college, my job in college, or like first few years of college, actually, literally all of college. Um, Remember,
I did that
18,
for a year. No, all of college.
18, 19, 20-year-old Chad, right? And after about 6 months, they're like, hey, you want to go learn how to drive the bucket loader?
And
And
you're
like-
like, yes, I do.
And like the 8-year-old in his me is like, fuck yeah. Like, let's go. Why are you
Who
allowing me to
doesn't,
do
man?
this?
Teach me.
Like, so they went and I learned how to do that. And then after a few times under direct supervision from one of those, the exact guy you'd expect to be able to run and teach college kids how to do the heavy machinery. And I was literally loading up dump trucks with mulch, crushed stone, the whole nine. And then after that, they're like, oh, that's fantastic. Here you go. Here's one of our box trucks. You're going to go do bulk deliveries to this horse farm or stuff where I'm just like 50-pound bags of horse feed, like 20 of them. And I'm just driving a box truck and delivering it. It's like, I don't have a CDL. Don't worry about it. It doesn't have air brakes. Okay, that raises more questions than answers. But number one, how does this thing stop?
What size are the brakes? Because now I'm scared.
But it was, and oh, dude, I was forklift certified at like 18 years old, like,
Yeah, you were.
and
Forklift certified.
myself and actually I worked with one of our other buddies, Greg, but
Yeah, I figured that's who it was.
and we did. There's so many fucking awesome stories from that place. Like, oh
Hoffman.
my gosh, that'd
Was
have
it here?
that in and of itself could be a supporter only stream because
Yeah, I bet.
but we'd have like forklift. We'd do forklift drag racing, like,
Yes.
which gets a little hairy because rear steer and literally solid rubber tires. But oh my gosh, like, it was just so insane to me. The it was just so insane to me that I'm a kid. I got my driver's license like a few years ago. I've already wrecked one car.
But here's a truck.
A bucket loader. Do you have any idea
here's a
how
bucket
easily
loader.
you could take off a cab of a dump truck with a bucket loader if you're not paying attention? Oh, incoming message from God to Gregson.
Sorry, I have to go do kid things. I shall return.
Greg has to go
Please
do kids stuff.
entertain the chat for a while.
So,
I'll be right back.
why is Greg resizing? Let's see here. Someone answered my question before. Vic over on Facebook. We're going back to what's everyone bringing to. What's everyone bringing to Carlisle? And if you didn't answer that question or they weren't here for it, let me know. If you're going to Carlisle, what are you bringing? Vic goes a Mitsubishi Legnum, and it's better than Greg's Polestar because it's more rare. I don't even know. this like a JDM version of a Galant? Actually, it's kind of cool. The wagon looks pretty dope. Huh. Interesting. Oh, it is. Huh. No, that's actually very, very cool. Knowing this group, mostly because of like Doug and Anthony. Like, here's my obscure blah 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 from so and so, and they don't add this. They're not cool. Very cool. They're just like, yeah. So, let's see. I think I could probably. I know most of you are bringing some variation of a Volvo. I think Doug and Anthony are bringing S60s, something to that effect. I know Doug's did halfway decent in the most, what I can only describe as the exhaust competition, judged by exclusively to death. Nah, I'm kidding, because I'm not bitter at all that my car didn't make it to the final, even though it sounded better than, I would say, 75% of the cars in said final. But it was an import show, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. But yeah, so actually, yeah, it's gonna. The first thing, not to backtrack, but the first thing, like I said, I saw my old car today. It's sitting in blue sky. It's very sad. I couldn't even bring myself to take like pictures and stuff. But like the first thing we're doing this week is cleaning it. Not the car, but the engine bay. Trying to get as much of the fire retardant out of it, so that like doesn't corrode the supercharger or the engine or any of the piping. Stuff like, because we did some math, and that car I'm probably sitting on anywhere from $15,000 to $18,000 in just parts. So as you can imagine, that makes my budget for the next car significantly higher. And if we can get top value for these engines or these parts, that just means the next car gets more and stuff. And like, I'm still sitting on a carbon fiber roof that's $15,000 or $1,500. My P51 wheels, those are easily $1,500 without breaking a sweat. Probably closer to 17 given the size. And you throw in the rubber on top of that with the R888 Rs, like, that's when I said, guys, the next car is going to be, from a build perspective, it may seem familiar, either add more boost, do this, blah, 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 but we are aiming for 700, as long as it has more than the Mustang, I don't care, but we're aiming for 750 at the tire. Migs over on YouTube knows what it is as well. Just like I told the other guys, do not spoil it for everyone else. We will be doing a reveal and walk around on that car in 2 weeks. But yeah, it's going to be a missile. It's newer. It's got a little fancier infotainment system in it. It's got a little more fancier, I want to say, driver aids. It's still going to be a manual. I entertained the idea of doing a kind of instead of an all-rounder, doing a car that was kind of built to be a straight line car, because a lot of the events that interest me are drag racing related. I prefer autocross and road racing or time attack stuff to drag racing from a pure enjoyment perspective. However, from a perspective of ease of creating content and events and stuff I like doing. Like, I really love the idea of drag and drive events. I love that. And being able to do something like that, like I said, some of these cars just have an automatic, basically a cheat code. Look at Greg's car. Greg could take his car, enter like, I have to see what the classes are, but like say he went and entered like a 13.5 or a 13.0 class. He doesn't have to do much, you know, maybe put a little bit more aggressive rubber, have some sort of weight reduction or something, but he could go into that class and basically, no matter the track, run within a tenth of his time. And like, so I seriously thought of it from that perspective, but then I started thinking, it's like, even though I don't do this like road racing stuff or anything as much as I used to or as much as I would like to, I still use driving as therapy. Without getting into it at all in any way, the last 4 to 5 months have been, and being able to go for a drive really helps clear my head, really helps not hit the reset button, but just it's therapy for me. I come back from a drive and I feel rejuvenated, I feel better, all this other sort of stuff. And if I were to get an automatic, a lot of the drive would be not that it wouldn't be as good, or it would be still be very, very helpful. Just some of the, as most of you guys yeah, you're tripping, sorry. I apologize for that, guys. I forgot I have that on this scene. Where was I? Basically, if I go on my favorite back road and it's an automatic, it kind of becomes almost, it feels almost, it's not engaging. It's not as engaging as manual. And I like that. I really do enjoy that. So my next car will be a manual. Like I said, I'm hoping to get it next week, but as far as from a stream perspective, we will be revealing it in 2 weeks to our supporters first, and then to everyone else a little later. It is. I'm excited. Doug had to do a test run for movie night all as a go. Knowing Doug, he probably had some variation of. He probably used Spaceballs to test the audio and picture quality. But glad to hear that. Again, Doug, you're the legend for doing that, even though I'm not going to be able to go this year. You're a legend because offering up your home to the group is pretty baller. So, well done, sir. Wow, this family stuff is taking Greg a while, ain't it? Hey, it's a treat to have y'all. I mean, God bless you, my friend. And look, everyone, Greg is back.
'Tis me. Hello, I'm here.
All right, your turn to be entertaining.
I got to get rid of Chrome Dome here. Hello, I'm back.
All right.
So, all right. Well,
we weren't really talking. We were
idea
just
where
randomly
Chad-
we were just kind of randomly talking about like my next car, dropping clues, like it's gonna be more powerful. The fact that I actually almost for a moment entertained an automatic, just because it would be cool to do drag and drive stuff with it.
True.
You know, and have a more consistent car
for it.
But in the end, my desire for 3 pedals won.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But that's it. I mean, that's an interesting one, and that goes back to what I said, because I'd love to be in the market for a sports car this year, but considering what we were talking about earlier with what a lot of these Ford dealers do, and I think a couple of Dodge dealers do the same thing. Like, I would be very interested in a drag truck, and not like a insane thing, but like a truck in the tens it's pretty awesome
That
sounding. I gotta be
pe-
honest.
people have become, because of YouTube and everything, people have become desensitized to just how insanely fast the 10-second pass is. That makes you pretty much
It's
faster than all but like two or three total cars in the world. I mean, a few
yeah.
of the electric cars, like the Lucid Air, Sapphire, Chrome, Emerald.
Yeah, they just did a race. I want to say it was Car Wow, maybe over in the UK, but someone did a race between Lucid Air Sapphire, Model S Plaid, and a tuned Porsche Turbo S, 911 Turbo S, which bone stock is one of the fastest sports cars in the world. Like it's those things are biblically fast off the just with nothing done to them. And they all ran the quarter in less than 10 seconds. It was all like 9.3 to 9.7. So it was all within half a second of each other, which at that point is just
Yeah.
ridiculous. So like anything in the 10-second range, you're scratching the surface of the fastest production cars on Earth. Like it's fucking fast. It really is. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it feels fast just in my car. And my car does 13s. So imagine doing it in that car and then going 1001, 1002, 1003. And then my car passes. Like that's an eternity in racing. And it
Yeah.
feels fast in this. I can only imagine what a 10-second pass feels like in anything, let alone up high in an F-150.
Yeah, dude.
So I don't know, a 700 horsepower street truck that can do tens or hell, I mean even low 11s doesn't really matter, honestly. Still pretty freaking fantastic and honestly something I'm considering now because
And it's got a
you
bed,
know
so you can put your spare tires, your tools, all that stuff
right,
in. So when we absolutely end up taking it on like drag week, not that we'd be invited,
hell
maybe
yeah.
like sick week, but
But either way, like that's a great point. Like it is insanely utilitarian in that sense. And you can get an extended cab one, and I can huck my oldest is now in a booster seat. As soon as the youngest is in a booster seat, I can literally have any four-door car ever because there's no more car seats. And the one,
Mazda RX-8.
honestly, that it would be fine because their legs are nice and stubby. They don't have to they don't have long
Oh,
legs
there
yet.
you're right. Who am I kidding? Those kids will be lucky to crack 5'5".
Yeah, but the nice thing is they're both very tall for their age. So I hope they're both taller than me. I hope they both get 5'8" plus. That would be great.
Come on, Mate basketball scholarship.
Yeah, then now we're just pipe dreaming. Um,
Yeah, they're very white.
I mean, Wes played basketball at school today, and he was just like, "Dad, I played basketball." I was like, "Really? What did you do?" He's like, "Yeah, we shot balls into hula hoops," and I'm like, "That's not the same thing." Um, but
I hate you that whoever at the daycare said that was basketball. That was
well,
ball
they're
and
trying to
hoop.
shoot it into a hoop, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I can see it, but not the same thing."
Call me when they're
Gotta,
using peach baskets.
yeah. Okay, Dr. J, get out of here.
I mean,
Or
that's the
Dr.
Dr.
Dr. J
James.
is in Dr. James Naismith.
There you
Not
go.
the Dr. J. The
Or
OG
Mr.
Dr. J.
or Mr. Pibb or Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Um,
All right.
but yeah, like I don't know, a 700 horsepower 10 or 11 second truck is honestly like creeping up in my brain because you could have an extended cab, not like I don't need like a big huge second cab, just enough that there's not just jump seats like an old school Ranger from folding down from the sides, like something where there's like a
Oh.
legitimate seat.
You know why those are there? We had this
No,
conversation in
why?
the Slipper spot. The chicken tax.
Oh, really?
Yeah. As part of that, okay, you're going to... So basically, short version of this story is after World War II, America gets redonkulously good at producing chickens to such a point that we start exporting them. We are doing it so well that our exported chickens are cheaper in Germany than German-raised chickens. Or West Germany, I guess. Right? So People are buying American chickens over West German chickens. German government's like, well, crap, we're trying to rebuild, and our farmers are taking it on the chin. Again, it's like you're messing with America now in poultry, and we're whooping your ass. But so they leveled them.
The Midwest is undefeated for chickens.
I mean, Midwest is undefeated in a lot of things. Where do you think 90% of our production came from?
Well, yeah. All the planes.
So Germany's response is to tax the living hell out of chickens. And the United States government at the time is just not having this. This carries on for years. Now starts the Cold War. And they had at least the craziest thing, and like I tried verifying it, but like I have come from a couple of trusted sources that I've been able to glean this information. Like I heard it from one, and then I fact checked it and found it on another. Mm-hmm. That the Chancellor of West Germany and President JFK, when JFK would go over to West Germany, they had more conversations about the chicken tax than impending nuclear Armageddon. Like nuclear war.
Oh, man. Gotta love bureaucracy.
So, after that,
amazing.
The American government's like, okay, you want to do that? And we tax like certain type of wheat. We tax a bunch of things that none of which are still being taxed today, except for light-duty vehicles. Now, Greg, you might be wondering, and Chad as well, well, what constitutes a light-duty vehicle? Well, it's a vehicle designed to basically like a cargo van or a pickup truck, basically a work vehicle that has 2 seats and is imported into the United States. And it carries with it a massive tax. That is why all of those imported pickup trucks from like the 80s, 90s, etc., all had those seats that like the back faced the out window and there were little flaps and they barely qualified as a seat.
Yep. I remember sitting in those as a kid and I'm like, this was that one Ralph Wiggum line like, hee, I'm in danger. That's how I felt sitting in those seats. You know, just like jump seats on an airplane. They really shouldn't be there for sure.
So they ended up with those. That's also why the Subaru Brat has literally basically stadium seats bolted into the bed. Because that's somehow
still to this day the coolest Subaru ever made.
Fast forward, and we were actually for a while now, and Chat's kind of covering this right now, but we were actually for a while importing Ford Transits that were built to be like a people hauling van. Ford was. They were then stripping them out, taking the windows out, turning them into a panel van, and selling them because it was cheaper to do that than, I guess, like set up a whole new plant, but which they eventually did for the Transits. But it's like it's the reason why a lot of cars, you know, the new what's the unkillable Toyota from Top Gear? Hilux. That's the reason we don't get the Hilux. Which, okay, we get the Taco. Hilux is a little more, I don't know what the word is, but like picture like
robust,
like a little more work oriented, a little less consumer oriented, I guess the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's the work truck to the off-road truck the Taco is.
Right, like the Taco is more of a lifestyle vehicle, whereas but the thing is that they just came out with a new version or a new Hilux that I think is an offshoot that literally costs like $12,000. Like it's a bare bones vehicle, and it would be absolutely perfect as the next mail truck because it gets great gas mileage, simple, comfortable, actually designed to go at speeds over 50 miles an hour. But because the U.S. Postal Service is a government-run monopoly, basically it's a private corp. The U.S. Postal Service is technically not a government agency, but it's run by the government, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So it has to go to bid and everything like that.
Yeah.
Nicholas, thank you so much for the 200 stars. Um, you have just inspired Gregson to regale you with a tale of interest and entertainment value about something. Go.
Something.
Be
Oh
right back,
man.
Chief.
Yeah, all good. Um, so I mean, I posed the question to you guys. What would be what would be more interesting for content purposes? And I know the whole reason we started Shifting Lanes Garage was so that we could keep the main channel as OEM stuff because that was performing a lot better. It does, a lion's share of like how we make money on this to do cool things with cars, obviously. Of course, your support here on the stream helps to get us other things that make the stream better. For example, my lovely microphone, my streaming laptop that I'm streaming on right now. So like obviously that helps as well. But the whole reason we started Shifting Lanes Garage is more to be about, what can we put on here that's interesting? We'll stream here, cool. We have short form content on here, cool. It was also a place to put our vlogs and project cars. So the question I posed for that is, what would be more interesting for content? And I say that because the whole reason we wanted to do content on this channel from a personal car standpoint was to be more passionate about it as opposed to like what's going to do good on YouTube. Because if you buy a car and you put it on YouTube, and you get views, great, that's cool. But if you're not like super into the car and you're just doing it for views, then you sort of like lose the luster after a while. And like I'm very into Volvos, and we've talked about it on stream a couple of times. But Hanson and Chad, they think Volvos are cool, but they're not like, oh well, I definitely want to go out and buy a Volvo. And they did that and lived that life, but they're not like huge Volvo guys. I'm not a massive Volvo person, but I do love the brand, and I think they're very safe. They're great for families and stuff like that. And I own several of them, and I think they're great cars. Like I would still consider owning many more Volvos, over the rest of my life and everything like that. However, when considering, and I use that whole preface to be like, what would be cooler for content? And these are all things that I like. So it's not just for views purposes. So take that into consideration. Would it be cooler to have a, supercharged, work truck that you upgrade over time? Would it be cooler to buy a sports car like an F-Type R, a new E9 XM3, or I'm sorry, not a new, another E9 XM3, C6 Z06 Corvette, or would it be cooler to buy something completely different, like an E39 M5 from the early 2000s? And to me, and that's why I kind of want you guys to chime in here, is like, what would you rather watch a series on in those three scenarios? Like a modern sports car, a maybe slightly older family hauler, whether it be like a larger sedan, maybe another cool wagon like an 850R, E39 M5, Bavarian, Autobahn Blitzer, or like a supercharged work truck. To me, it's like all three of those things interest me. Like I'd watch series on those on YouTube regardless. So like in those three scenarios, what would you rather watch? And when I look for content on cars on YouTube, it's usually one of two things. It's usually I'm searching for something because we're probably going to end up replacing my wife's XC90, not this car that I'm pointing to, the one that's usually right here, that in the place that I'm sitting in. We're probably going to end up replacing that with another XC90 or a Hyundai Palisade, or potentially something else, maybe a Toyota Grand Highlander, or something with 6 seats. And I say six because we want that middle, compartment, not compartment, that pass through, like the captain's chairs. So it'll be like two in the front, two in the middle, two in the back. Um, and that's the one of the things I go to on YouTube, like search for reviews. Cool. The other thing is I just look for cool car content. So whether that be through search or suggested videos or whatever comes on my home screen, or on other platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I'll go around and look for different things like that. But it's sort of for me, it's all over the place because a lot of stuff interests me. I like very interesting things, and I like very, quote unquote basic things, like, oh, it's another Corvette build. Well, yeah, Corvettes are cool. Like I'll watch another Corvette build. It doesn't even have to be that interesting. Like if that person is making it their own and they're passionate about the car, like I'll watch that. They're into it. Like that makes it cool for me. So it's not just about the views. It's all about like, does that person really like truly enjoy the car? So for me, that's the question I pose to you guys. Like, what do you look for in a series on YouTube or other platforms when you're trying to like find new cool car content? Is it more about like that person being passionate about it, or is it more about the car? Would you rather look at more Volvo content or more BMW content or Corvette content, or as opposed to just like, oh, I'm coming back for that creator? Because a lot of people come back for, Tavares, but his builds are all over the place. There's no like, okay, well, I'm only with this company, right? So I see a couple of you have responded. Doug, option two, then three, then a few other numbers, then one. So I think I forget what order I went in, but um I think option two was like sports cars, I think. I don't remember what order I went in. Then three was work truck. Then I don't remember. Doug, could you tell me, not by options, but but by my examples, what exactly you meant there? Um Vic, answering your question, why not VW Atlas? Looked at it, but the third row seating is a bit crammed just because of how the back sort of is not squared off and sort of how it's tapered, sort of like a wagon is. There is limited headroom, and while the third row is mostly for hauling around my kids' friends, my wife does sit back there, and we use it probably maybe a dozen, even 2 dozen times a year like that, because we do take trips. My mother-in-law lives with us, so it's myself and my mother-in-law up front, the two kids in the middle, and then my wife in the back, or me in the back and my wife is driving. So either or. So we do need a bit more headroom there in the third row, and the Atlas does not have the best third row headroom compared to an XC90 or a Palisade or a Grand Highlander. So that's the reasoning why Atlases look great. Also, VW does not have the best reliability rating overall. So I actually know someone with an Atlas right now, a modern one, and they have nothing but problems with it. So um, they VW as a whole just not great reliability wise. Let's see. Doug said, though, if you need a truck to work on, I'd consider fronting a small budget for my 79. We'll talk at Carlisle, sir. We'll talk at Carlisle. We'll see what's going on. Nicholas says, when I was driving the truck today, I found myself thinking, why didn't or hasn't Honda brought back a modern CRX, electric or otherwise? That's a really good question, actually. We'll get into that next because I think a couple other people talked about the options that I said, but I'm going to come back to that, Nicholas. So do hold on and bear with me on that one. Doug says one sports car, two family sleeper, three work truck with a supercharger. Interesting. So my order is two, three other things, then one. So two family sleeper, three work truck as the next thing, other things in between, and then one sports car because sports cars not as interesting to Doug. And that's good. This is good market research right here. I like that. um, Doug then says, make a C3 a proper sports car would be a challenge and a cool build. I actually thought about that too for like a modern Dodge Challenger or Charger because they're such boats. They're mostly known for being just great cruisers and also, good in a straight line. But making one of those like a proper like sports coupe or sports sedan would be an interesting build. Like you could strip it out, you could, get as much weight out of there as you could, put like proper suspension, good roll bars. That would be kind of fun to do. Obviously the power application. I think that would be an interesting series, I think, because I don't know if anyone's really done that on YouTube, but if they have, please correct me. That would be cool. Vic votes for Corvette content. I would imagine you come by that honestly because you're an Elliot Alvis fan and an Elliot Alvis transplant to our stream. So I appreciate that, Vic. Um, I think Corvettes on the whole are just cool, period, because they are America's sports car, and I know that modern Mustangs can also make that claim, but like as like America's original sports car, the Corvette is it. Like obviously the Mustang started as a pony car, but it sort of evolved into this like it's not so much a pony car anymore. It really is like a true sports car. Like modern Mustangs they're just that good.
Well, pony cars
Honestly,
were never true muscle cars. Some of them became muscle
no,
cars, like
and that's why I didn't say muscle
like a
cars because
Boss
they were like
420, like a Boss 429, right? Like that's a straight
yeah,
up muscle car. That was okay. So we could make the Mustang lighter, or 429. All right, send it across the street,
So
get
they
the
were that
chassis modified, and we're gonna shoehorn this bastard in there.
yeah. So they were like the go between
They
like
were
a true
basic.
sports car and like a muscle car essentially. That's what I feel like pony cars are.
The Mustang kind of became a muscle car in that lull when Camaro left and the Challenger hadn't come back yet, because like that was their market, right? Like it was the American. It wasn't a Corvette, but it was that American car, so it had to try to cover all the ethos. But I mean, even so, with that said, like you still had cars like the Cobra R, which was the first Mustang to have independent rear suspension prior to the
Right.
S550s. So it's like I've always looked at Mustangs as they're a sports car that also really enjoys like fast food. They're a little on the heavy side to be a true sports car, but I challenge anyone. My Mustang. I mean, let's look at it this way: if you give a Mustang enough power, it'll go toe to toe with a GT3 RS around a road
Right.
course.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So like, there's obviously ways of getting around Isaac Newton and his pesky physics. Um,
Damn you, gravity. Um, yeah, so to me, Corvette content is also always very cool because, like I said, you can make it your own. There's a very wide audience for it, but it's also a car to be passionate about because it is America's sports car. So to
yeah,
me, a Corvette build would be very cool, even if it is just like you making mods to it normally, like anyone else would. Because again, to me, like I come for the creator, and I'm there because they're doing cool car content. I don't necessarily look for like I'm only gonna watch vet content, but there are people out there that like that. It's like I'm only gonna watch Mustang content. Screw Mopar. I'm only gonna watch Mopar content. Screw Mustangs and Camaros. Like that kind of stuff. Um, it's one of those things that for me is is interesting, but like I want to like drive the things and like be passionate about the car first and foremost. And I think that will then shine through in whatever content we make from it. So if I drive like another like an E92 M3 and an F-Type R and a C6Z06, and then somehow I get into like a work or not even a work truck, but like a supercharged F-150, and I'm like, this thing is just putting smiles on my face for days. Like that's the one I'm gonna do probably because to me it's putting the most passion in my pocket, for that period of time. Um, to answer your question, Vic, about what about large family sleeper sedans and making content from that doesn't have to be new cars though, and that's sort of where I was going with that is um, early 2000s E39 M5s, which is basically the M5 that everyone on Earth can agree on that is the best M5. It is the best looking. It is the original. It's not the original M5, but it's the original one that when someone says M5, people are like, oh, that one from like 2002.
It's
That's
the most
what everyone thinks
recognizable
of.
one.
Yeah, it's the most recognizable. That's
And
what
what
everyone
most people,
thinks of when you
what
hear
most
about
people
it.
don't realize, those engines are actually for BMW are very stout. That engine
Yes, they are.
was the starting point when they came time for the E9Xs, the M3s. Like it's basically that engine that's I don't know if it was just completely de-stroked. I'm guessing because of the RPM, but I'm sure there was some, the bore was a little bit smaller or something like that. I don't know, but like, and those V8s, man, they sound insanely good.
Yeah,
They respond
it's
well to
the
mods. Like,
it's the S62 engine is what it's called. So the one in the E9 XM3 is the S65. So it's basically the next variant of that. So it is sort of a derivative of that. But yeah, BMW S62 V8 engine produced 394 horsepower at 66 RPM and 369 pound-feet of torque. And for the early 2000s, those are bananas numbers for a four-door sedan. Like
oh
those
yeah,
are insane. So
and they're
for
smaller
me,
and lighter than a modern M3.
Yeah, 100%. So for me, like that's a really interesting car because you can pick those things up for like 30 or 40K, which is right in my budget, for exactly what we're talking about. The supercharged work truck is slightly out of budget because it's like 46, 47K. I'm trying to keep it to 30 to 40 max because that I can afford and keep the payments down and yada yada
We were
yada.
basically in the
But
same basic budget.
right, exactly.
Realistically, we're both in that
So
like I don't want to spend more than 40.
yeah, correct. Exactly. So, but E39 M5 is the icon of BMW like hot sedans. It is the icon. You can say the E36 M3 is, you're wrong. I know that those were two
E46.
doors. Or sorry, yeah, E46. Those are the icons of BMW. They're not. The E39 M5 and the E30 M3. Those are the two real BMW icons. As far as like modern sports cars go. So like for me, I don't know. And an M5, like an early 2000s M5 is a really interesting thing because not a lot of people make content on it. They're cool cars and I feel like, like to Nicholas's point, he gets inspired from or learning about other car makes and other car companies. Um, and at one point, he thought about buying a Kia Optima. That's actually how I ended up with my first Subaru. So like, that's another thing is like just people consuming content and looking for things that they normally wouldn't. An E39 M5 is in that realm for me because I think it's a cool car and they will never ever make another one like it. So I don't know. To me, that's another one that again, I have a family. I could become the family hauler guy that just buys cool family cars. Trade this thing in, get an E63 AMG if I have enough money someday. Like, well, that's cool because that's a wagon with 600 plus horsepower. Awesome. Let's go do some burnouts. Like that's sick. So like that's sort of I say this whole thing because that's sort of where my mind is with a lot of this. It's not just about like what's going to be cool on YouTube and what's going to make the most videos and what's going to get the most views. It's like, what's something that I'm going to like? What's something that you guys are going to enjoy watching? And am I going to be passionate about it? Because if I'm not going to be passionate about it, I'm not buying the car anymore, flat out. And Chad brings up a great point right here. 33.9. What's the mileage on that?
94.
So like under 100,000 miles, probably well maintained with that sort of mileage, but also driven, which is important. It's do they make these in automatics? I don't know a ton about the E39 M5 platform. I know they obviously came in manual, but I don't know if I think they were all manuals. I don't remember. But this is a manual, obviously.
Yep.
And I mean, I know Chad doesn't have a great history with BMW and is not like the biggest fan of them, but like BMWs have been in my family since 1983, and I'm a big fan of the brand. Not so much in the last like 5-ish years, but before that, I'm a huge fan of BMW, and this is right in the wheelhouse of like what my family had for a long time. I mean, my mom drove around in a 1992 525i manual for 14 years. So, this is right in that. I mean, that was an E34, obviously, but this is right in that same era, that same decade of early 90s to early 2000s BMWs where they were that I grew up with. So, this to me would be a really cool car to buy, own for a year, and if I don't like it, I could sell it and probably lose $0 on it.
Right. Like these cars are like as BMW drifts further and further and further and further away from the sort of ethos that made them
One more further.
who they were. Uh, the E46, even the E9Xs, those cars that were naturally aspirated, put emphasis on making enough power, but also it wasn't the be all end all. Like the new, I did a short on this. The new 2025 BMW M5. Yay, we're getting the touring. But it makes over 700 horsepower. Like, I don't care if you're the ultimate driving machine. Nobody's going to be experiencing anything like the ultimate driving experience with 700 horsepower on the road. How do I know? Ask me. Guess what I had? An over 700 horsepower car. Don't get me wrong, they're crazy fun. There's something extremely intoxicating about having all of that power and traction.
Yeah.
Away. It's just, but the E46, I will say this. I didn't have good luck with mine, but it was a high mileage example, it needed work. It was one of those things where like I wasn't real if I was prepared to say, okay, it's going to take me about 10K to get this car up and running, possibly even look into getting a new motor, blah blah blah. Like if I had been prepared to do that with that car as opposed to I just want to swap this dingy as fuck interior out of it.
Yeah.
My experience would have been a little different, but it wasn't. So here we are. Sean, welcome to the show. But I've always liked these. One of my neighbors used to have one of these, and they're that. If you look at a modern BMW, it's like, good God, you should have stopped designing that car like 17 days ago. Like,
Yes, but if you look at one of these,
exactly.
and as you know, I'm very aesthetically focused with a lot of this stuff. Like, to me, this is the best 5 Series ever made. This thing looks so good. It's that last bit of just pure design. I think the F10 M5 comes close. I think that's an excellent looking M5, or just the F10 5 Series, period. But the E39, I mean, it's just an icon, honestly. It really is. Like, you go to a car show, you see an E39 M5, and you're like, ah, that's just gorgeous. Because it is. It really is.
Were these individual throttle body cars?
Good. Again, I don't know a ton about the platform because I sort of literally just started looking at them like last week. I want to say yes, but I don't know. I want to say yes.
It certainly looks like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it is, I mean, the sound this thing could make with just an exhaust and removing some plenums up front would be pretty freaking fantastic, which you can obviously just put right back on.
I mean, yes. So they all have to be map sensor. Yeah, there's one right. I don't know if it's a throttle motor or not. But I mean, here's the one thing, and I'm not being a downer because I think it would be really cool, like for you to have one of these. This is early days of cool. ITBs, so like every oil change you're gonna have to like. That's part of the oil change, so like service and stuff. But I mean, this thing is 5 liters. It makes almost 400 horsepower. Basically 10 years, a little more, before the Coyote came out. So like when this was out, the rest of us in America, we were dealing with a 5.7 liter V8 that was making 350 horsepower in base trim in the Corvette and almost 400 in the Z06. And we had Mustangs making 300 out of 4.6 liters. Like there's a reason why this engine was used in like supercars. Like I forget who used it, but like these look, if you can get it to work, if it's been maintained, I still maintain to this day that my E46 M3 was one of when it was working and it was right, and you were going on a drive in the back road. Nothing on earth felt like it, and I mean that in a positive way.
Yeah, because what BMW knew how to do was make a freaking phenomenally good chassis and a great handling car. They still do, but it's different. It's not the same. And E46 is in that realm of one of the better or if not one of the best handling cars ever made.
Right, and that was all that was all mechanical handling. It was no like traction control wasn't what it is today. Stability control was like a
Yeah.
mere suggestion, if anything at all.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was
But to your point, like
you had to make a good
you could have
chassis.
yeah, but you could to your point, like you could have fun on a back road with this car. With your Mustang, you can, but you could not exploit all 700 horsepower. You could exploit all 400 horsepower of this for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's the thing. That's like when I was looking for my car, it was like one of those things where I was like, oh, like do I do I get something that I can work up to like 400, 500 horsepower, maybe a little, maybe like 500 or so at the wheel, and have something like that, or do I like go for gusto and try to like make something with even bigger power? Just this time, build a suspension that can handle it, or handle it a little better. Because truth be told, the lowering springs on my old Mustang were not great because they had one spring rate, and that was hard all the time, which was great, but it also lended itself to potential wheel hop even after I got the stop to hop kit, just because of the way the lowering springs are. So like a good set of coilovers, like that's something I actually struggled with. And as you know, Greg, like every day it
Yeah.
was like, ooh this, ooh that, ooh this, ooh that. Like, it was a bit of a
Yeah,
process.
you get that ADD and it's like, oh, because there's so much. Like people don't understand that like for 30 to 40 grand, there's so much you can buy. You can get a brand new GT86 and a turbo kit for 40 grand. You can get a previous gen Subaru STI tuned to about 500 horsepower for 40 grand. You can get a Mustang GT, big V8 Mustang GT with a supercharger for about 40 grand. You could get a BMW, well, maybe if it came with it. Maybe if they're selling it with it already
Oh,
on.
without a doubt. I saw a
But
bunch of a boosted S550 you can get between 35 and 40 with all day long.
right, exactly. You could get this. You could
I
get
mean,
a
shit, I saw
BMW
one for
E39 M5, and you could have some mod. Like that one was 33.9. Well, there's 7 grand for mods, or better wheels, or a little bit of interior restoration, or whatever. You can use that 7 grand to put towards the car. There's your 40 grand. There's so much you can do with that price point that people are always like, oh yeah, but you know what, you could do more with 50. Well, yeah, of course you can make the same argument for houses. Like, oh, your house is $400,000, but what if you got a $500,000 house? I was like, well, yeah, but then it'd be out of budget, dickhead. Like, this is my budget. Like, it's 40. So for me, um 40K is like right around the mark where a lot of F types are right around that 40-45K mark now, and that sort of is like what I'm working with and what I'm looking for. So there's so much that you can do with that amount of money. Um, and Doug makes a great point. You can get a proper beater for $500 and then have $39,500 worth of mods. Also true.
That's like the
You
seventh
could buy a
time.
$500 Volvo and throw whatever you want at it.
That's like the seventh time Doug has tried to sell you a car on this stream.
I know, pretty much. Uh, that's all right. He's a car salesman. He's doing a good job at it. Oh man. So yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. My hope is that this new job that I have will afford me more time to be able to do fun things with cars. Maybe not necessarily during work hours, but on the weekends where I don't have as much to do on the weekends to catch up from the week. Excuse me, been a long week.
Huh.
And it's only Wednesday.
Huh.
but um, I'll be able to like do other cool stuff, to be able to vlog again, to be able to get back into that long form content, right? And make cool stuff for long form for you guys to actually watch. So that's my goal for the rest of this year, is um to find something that's interesting and make it my own, and bring you guys cool content on it. And same thing with Chad's next car that he's going to unveil in the next couple of weeks. You know, do the exact same thing. Have that car to be able to be passionate about, and no matter what it is, make cool stuff. So I
Having
appreciate you guys chiming in on chat with all these
yes.
suggestions. So thank you, because this is part of the reason why we do the stream, is to like be able to pressure test these things with you guys, because we know you're all watching the videos regardless, and not just saying like, oh, you're gonna watch the videos because it's us. More just like, we appreciate that, and we appreciate your feedback, and want to bring things that you guys are gonna watch. Because Chad typed in was that the fit type R. Like, that actually sounds like a pretty awesome build. Like, that's something I would want to do. Like a Honda Fit, and shove well, F Type R engine would be ridiculous, but shove a CTR engine into it. Like, that's
No,
cool. Or even
no, make it
like a
make
Honda
it
or Civic
pissed
SI.
off K24 headers.
Right. Like a
Intake.
naturally aspirated like
Yes.
K24 engine. That would be like was a Fit SI, if you will. Like, that's a cool build, because I've literally never seen that. I'm sure it's been done, but I've never watched like a YouTube series on it. Like, that's pretty cool.
No, 100%. And to kind of further your point, I'll be perfectly honest. Towards the end of the C30, because of the issues I was running in, I dreaded making content with that car.
Yeah.
Point blank. You know, for all of you Volvoists out there, the C30 was a great, fun car. It just isn't. It wasn't a car. It was a car that I bought as a business decision. Like I said, I ended up really liking the way it handled. It was fun. The community we met because of that car will far outweigh my enjoyment of that car forever. And that's not to say it's a bad car. I'm just saying the community that we came across and became a part of is that damn good.
Yeah.
But with like the Mustang, I don't ever really I didn't dread making content. Okay, so I've been dragging my feet with the first part of the Mustang Fire video. That's why I did it here live, because it's just, well, I'm going to be here for 2 hours anyway. Might as well just talk about it, you know?
Right.
And, but I'm really excited for the next car. I'm arguably equally, if not more excited for Greg's next car. Like,
Well, thank you. I agree.
because, how do I put this? Just because I know Greg's head has been bouncing around so many different types of vehicles, so many different ideas. Doug's buy a $5,000 beater and 39.5 gave me a fantastic idea for your next car. And it's
Would be?
which is one of the Toy Barus, FRS GT86, BRZ, XYZ, Partridge in a Pear Tree, is to get one of those and put a white block in it.
That would be sick.
Imagine
That would be
that
sick.
car sounding like your V70R.
That would be really cool. But here's the rub with that $40,000 budget, is
It's not
for a
real.
down payment. Well,
I know, I'm
right.
kidding.
Well, so the $40,000 budget is basically like, if I needed to finance something, really. For a project car, I really only have 20, because I have about that much saved up with investments and shifting lane stuff, as like a down payment for a car, if I had to. For a project car, it would be 20. So it would be like, buy something for 5 grand and put 15 into it. That would be the sort of the budget for that. But if we're talking about like interesting things that I could finance, like through shifting lanes as a business, or either personally, to offset costs and yada yada yada, it would be 40 because you would have like half of the car essentially as a down payment. Or you could do 15, save 5 for mods, and then utilize, payment structures and things like that. So that's where that kind of comes from. Um, but, you know, we'll see if I can find something that's good and cool for 20 that I could like just get. Well, great. I don't need to finance something.
I love Anthony's comment. Chad, that's absolutely absurd, and I'm here for it. That's the bet. That's arguably like when it comes to car culture and like when we're talking about passion and stuff. Finding interesting things to put that white block engine into fuels
Yeah.
me. I still
Because
wanted.
it's a great motor.
I mean, but finding cars where like 450 horsepower is perfect because you don't want like sure you could probably build those, and I don't know what people are making on those things, but like you could build it and make 600-700 horsepower, but like with some shims and maybe sleeves, you could. I mean, 400 horsepower in the FRS GT86 whatever is a good time, and none of them are going to sound like that.
Yeah, that's accurate.
And
None
look,
of them
you're already saving money. Doug has an extra one.
will. That's true. There you go. Done. Done deal.
So
Yeah.
it's that's the thing. Like I'm excited because it's one of those things when any one of us, hey, I'm getting a new car. It's like when Hanson went through the
Right.
process of getting the Veloster. It's like
Right.
that was really cool. It's kind of a bummer that he doesn't drive it, but also, you know,
Yeah. I know why.
it's because he's reviewing cars and he's putting a lot of his time, effort, and energy
Yeah.
into that. Um, and I get it, but sometimes you just got to drive your baby, man. Like,
True.
but, um, but like Greg, the range of vehicles he's looking at is so diverse that it's like one of these could be cool, and it's also cool to play with something new. Like, could we get another P2R? Probably.
Yeah.
Would it be something that we could make pretty awesome? Definitely. But is it something at the end of the day that are you excited to like, you see what I'm saying? It's like it's something get Greg has to play with something
Yes.
new. He can get an F Type R and he's a pulley and a tune away from probably adding 50 horsepower at the tire without even trying.
Exactly.
Could he get something like the quote unquote drag and drive work truck? I'm here for it because it's different but yet the same. And also, while we're back on that topic for a brief moment, you should really talk to Jeff at Blue Sky. He knows a thing or two about those trucks.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you sit here and you're talking about like a Chevy SS. It's like, okay, like now we've taken another left turn,
Right.
So like that process is exciting. I'm pretty sold on the fact that it's going to have a big cat on the front of it. Like I just think that's where you're going to land. I'm not trying to spoil the fun or what have you.
No,
It's just
you're right,
like,
because I've been obsessed with that car for a long time.
but the E39 M5, well, that's a car that's not going down in value.
No,
They're only going up.
and never will.
So you could I could see you getting into a place where you go E39 M5. Okay, what's the next version of that? And then in a
Right.
year get that, and then in a year get that, and then in a year get that. Like,
Because that's cool. That's interesting to me too. Because then you have that's almost like how Doug DeMuro like built his YouTube channel before doing the reviews. Right? He would have, he worked at Jalopnik obviously at the time, and he was writing stuff. But he would get the Doug car, right? And he had the Viper GTS. He had the Aston Martin V Advantage that I owned as well. He had that little snail escargot thing from Japan, which was just the weirdest thing ever. But it was again it was cool. People watched it because it was like people were like, what the hell is this thing? But he had these cars that he like owned for a year and was like, well, here's the ownership cost, blah blah blah, and now I've sold it, and here's the next thing. So like it's almost reintroduced you to that sort of that sort of like series, if you will. It's like, well, the perfect starter for that would be an E39 M5 because the value isn't going to go down at all. You don't really have to mod it a lot. You could make 12 videos out of that thing pretty easily, one a month, and then get something else the next year. Um, so I don't know. It'll be interesting. One thing I will say about saying that that I would be in something with a cat on the front is I will say, and I know you're not a big fan of BMW gauge clusters, saying that they're a little bit boring, but looking at like the E39 M5s and the E90 platform or E9X platform M3s, and looking at the F-Type, um, the interior of the F-Type overall is very beautiful until you look at the gauge cluster. And it looks very Kia Optima to me because the Kia Optima had these like, and it was just the way they were designed, is they had these long, and the Polestar actually has a very similar sort of gauge cluster, but it's the single version of it where it's this sort of long silver cylindrical thing that leads to the gauge cluster, and it was just a very big design element of that time period of like the 2007 through 2018 timeframe on a lot of cars. And it's not really that attractive to me. And I was looking at the interior of F-Types the other day, and I'm like, yeah, exactly that. And it was that sort of like almost like binoculars sort of look to it, and they
Yeah,
look okay. They're fine.
it dates
But
the
to
car
me,
really quick.
yeah, it does date the car very quickly.
6,500 RPM. That's adorable.
But to me, if you look at this and then you look at an E9X M3 or the E39 M5 gauge cluster, those just look so much more iconic to me with that font, the coloration, the way it looks. It's just different in a way that sort of draws you into that old school sort of car. And again, this looks fine. It's cool, I guess. But those BMW ones and like some of the older Audi ones and some of the older Mercedes ones and to your point, like some of the older Lexus ones, like they're just cooler. And they bring this air, this like air of there's something special about the car. To me, if I look at this gauge cluster on screen, that could be in any modern car. That's not special to me. It literally could you could put it
No, I
into
mean it's one of those
any
things
car
where
from
like they
2008
were
to
starting.
2018.
It's one of the what's the best way to describe it? It's one of those things that you're starting. Just put a normal tack and speedo, but it was at the dawn of the digital cluster. So if you had a digital screen, it was
Yes.
wow. So you didn't really have to wow with the other gauges. Um,
Right.
the ATS-V suffered from this as well. Like
Hmm.
it had basic GM gauge cluster with a little digital screen on it, which
Yeah.
okay, it's cool. Um, but
But it's that same thing as like,
it
well, you could slap that into a lot of other modern cars and it would be totally in place. If you took any of the BMW gauge clusters from like the 90s or early to late, you know, 2000s and slapped them in any other car, people would be like, "What the hell is this doing here? This is a BMW gauge cluster." And you like know what it is. So there are little intricacies throughout the F-Type that I don't like. The biggest thing of the F-Type is looking at it from the outside. But, the outside in a car is what draws you in. The interior is where you have to live. And to me, the F-Type is a beautiful car. But, so is the Jaguar XKR. So is the BMW C6 Z06. So is the E39 M5.
did you
So is
just
the
go the
E9X platform.
BMW C606?
Or sorry, Corvette C6 Z06. BMW E30 E90 platform M3s. If I did say that, sorry, my brain is mush. But like
Feel you
there are
there.
certain there are certain things about the F-Type I could really nitpick. Um, And I know where your brain is going of like, well, the C6 Z06 interior is not good. It was like, sure, but you hop into that car and you know, oh, this is a Corvette I'm sitting in. This interior, no, in any other car, no one would know. You can't pick that interior up and put it in another car. Certain aspects of the F-Type
Right.
interior you can, and to me that
Well,
makes it
and the thing
slightly
with
less special.
the thing with the Corvette too is that you Holly, you can take a digital Holly dash, like one of those big wide big screen Holly digital dashes, put it
Mm-hmm.
into a C6 Corvette, and it'll work, and you don't need like a Terminator or one of their off the shelf ECUs.
Right.
So you that right then and right there, that brightens the whole car up, or the whole interior up.
Right.
You get a different
Right.
shifter, you get a different shift knob, you take all the plastics out and you have them maybe refinished in a more upscale material, and then all of a sudden that is a pretty special cabin.
Right. Exactly.
But like that's the thing to me that dates a car more than anything else is the gauge cluster. The switch gear
Yeah.
can do it as well, but it's in that same vein, like infotainment as a whole. But
Mm-hmm.
BMW, man, like this has at least some color, some contrast to it, whereas the BMW is just gray. The thing is the BM to me, and again, this is all subjective because it's aesthetics. The BMW just looks like the Speedo and the Taco were afterthoughts. It's like, we have made this beautiful car. You need a Speedo and a Taco. Fuck. Okay, make it gray and white and send it out. You know,
And maybe that's
classically
the
Germanic.
difference. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think to me, but it's also inherently BMW. You get into it and you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, that's a BMW cluster. I can't take that and put it anywhere else. Nicholas, thanks for watching, bud. We'll catch you next time. Um, but to me, like that F-Type one, you can kind of pick up certain aspects of it and put it in other cars and be like, oh yeah, that fits there, which inherently to me makes that less special.
Right,
And
because
maybe
it's 10
maybe
years.
it's because I
It when it was launched, it was like, holy cow. But in 10
Yeah.
years, everybody else catches up to where like a Kia Sorento has that same basic thing, if not on the higher end models or trim levels of Kias, you get a fully digital dash. So
Right.
like that dates the living hell out of this stuff, even though when it was new, it was wow. Like I'm willing to
Yeah.
bet that one of their big things was it has one of the biggest digital information, whatever you want to call it, of any car when it came out new.
Yeah, true.
But
I don't know, maybe
again,
it's me with the BMWs, and because I grew up with them, maybe I just have like a sense of nostalgia for it. That's
that's 100%.
that's
That's
possible.
100% a possibility. Like you grow up like I always see when I see like old Subaru wagons, and I'm not talking like old Imprezas. I'm talking like old, like early '90s legacy wagons and stuff, or
Mhm.
even like I don't see them all that often. But every now and again, I'll see a Volkswagen Fox. Why? My dad had the Subaru when I was a real young kid, and the
Right.
Fox in conjunction with an Isuzu Trooper were the cars I learned how to drive stick on
Right.
at
So you
like
have that
14
nostalgia
years
for them,
old.
and you're like, ooh, cool.
you know. So it's like, I totally get that, and I totally get the appeal of BMW. I am just so wary of BMWs from that era because they were right on the cusp, and the technology was just good enough. Like, I equate this to all the time. You can watch if you have cable TV, right? Like I have Comcast. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But you can watch Netflix, you can watch Paramount Plus, you can watch Disney Plus, you can watch all of these streaming services right through Comcast's cable box.
Yeah.
But it is magnitude slower than running it through, say, my PlayStation 5. Or even like a Hulu.
Right.
Or not a Hulu,
Right.
Roku. Because all of the software, the software is like, we can do it, and the hardware can, or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, the hardware can barely do it. In BMW's case, the hardware is capable, but the software is just there. That's why, like, individual throttle bodies, Vanos variable valve timing was so ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know VTEC and everything like that, but the way Vanos worked was VTEC is one cam profile, second cam profile, where the first cam profile starts to lose power. That's where the second cam, and that's where the second cam comes into, or profile comes into play.
Right.
VTEC is very simple, and that's why like people are like, oh, VTEC just kicked in. Sweet, now you're making 160 horsepower.
Great.
Welcome back, Steve. So, but like, that's a cool car because it's almost a classic.
Right.
It is a classic in the sense that it's a car from over 20 years ago. That's awesome. But
Yeah.
in terms of what the actual government definition of a classic is, that's 25 years.
Yeah. It's close.
You know, so it's like
Very close.
there is. I wouldn't know, Steve. I'm on PC now, so like, whatever. It's it's a really cool car. It's been around for forever, so any of its issues, quote unquote, they've found fixes for. And not for nothing, if you do those, as long as it's not like tearing the motor out, they're all going to add value to the car because these cars aren't going to be any less mileage, right? They're only going to be going up unless someone's like, ooh, E39 M5. Throw it in the what is it? The vacuum chamber, right? Like, or something like, to where it's like it cannot touch air, it cannot do this, it'll be forever preserved until Barrett Jackson 2035.
Hyperbaric time chamber like Dragon Ball Z.
I was thinking hyperbaric chamber, and then I was trying to think of
That's awesome.
the what the fuck the chambers the athletes use, and then like then like the stampede of like cats that is my brain right now was just like thump, 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 and whatever word was in front of like the 78th cat, that's what came out of my mouth.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um,
Hashtag DBZ reference.
so Sean goes, remember Honda did make a few prototype VTEC 4.4 liter V8s, and Spoon took two K24s and made a V8. Someone else just did that. And it's a brand new engine that's going to be coming out this year. It's called the K48 Hydra. You can get it in 4.8 liters or 5 liters. Has a 10,000 RPM red line and between 750 and 800 horsepower. It has 8 68 millimeter individual throttle bodies. Now, to give you an idea of how insane that is, well, you're looking at the E39. It had it back in 2002.
No, but like, you just it's so cool. It's so cool with a 10,000 RPM red line.
And it's a hot V.
Jesus Christ, that's
And
crazy.
it's insane. I'm pretty sure it's running like 16-to-1 compression. I couldn't find any of the actual specs on it to get, you know, exactly what it was, like what it would do on 93. But they also make a boost variant that's like easily capable of 1,200 horsepower. Like, it's pretty dang cool. It's gonna be probably a $40,000 engine, but then again,
Yeah.
Predator is like 35,000 if memory serves. 25,000, something in that neighborhood.
Yeah, it's something like that.
But I mean, that's a crazy engine. And then you have the guys playing with the V8 Busa motors or Hayabusa style engines, where they put the Hayabusa heads effectively on a custom V8. Like, these are the types of V8s I want to play with in like a classic like Datsun 510 or an MGB coupe. Like, just these pissed off high revving engines that would no business being in like an old 70s car, but yet there they are.
Right.
Sean goes, you said Predator, and I immediately thought of Harbor Freight. I'm clearly missing something. Steve, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Sean goes, sounds like an engine I built. Automaton. I can't read.
Automaton. Or no, automation.
In automation. Love that game. Oh, okay. Um, like the things these bespoke engine builders are doing is in fucking insane now.
It really is. It is crazy town.
Because every week something like this pops up. I
I
haven't,
know.
I haven't done the
Damn you, Steve.
I haven't done the necessary legwork, but there is. I think it's called the HRC4 from Hypersports. Now, what it is a just over 1.3 liter snowmobile engine that, with boost, is capable of over 1,000 horsepower. Out of 1.3 liters, that is more horsepower. That is not only more horsepower than a Formula One car, but that is more horsepower per cubic inch than a Formula One engine. Just to put that into perspective.
Just a little impressive.
You know, can one of those engine people build a Volvo V10? I mean, someone out there is absolutely capable of it. There's a guy out there who made a V12 out of two 1JZ engines.
Yeah. So you got enough money in engineering prowess, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
You know, there's a guy out there who made a flat plane crank LS7, which sounds so weird.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
You know, it's just there's so many of these engines that if you have like $35,000-$40,000, drop it in a car. And like that is like when we get to a certain level, you'll know it because you will see the engine before you see the project. Like, and Steve, I don't know if you're still here. You've left. I just seen your comment. I have picked a new car, signing paperwork tomorrow. It should ship next week, and in 2 weeks' time, we will have a live stream revealing what it is.
I'm excited for that.
No, and then Sean goes, and this is actually triggering. He goes, Terraria made that engine. It's called the 1GZFE. False. It shares almost nothing with a 1JZ. And fun fact about that engine, it has two ECUs, one for each bank.
Yes, the tuner's dream.
But that said, one of those would be my leading candidate to put in one of Greg's 240s.
That would be very cool.
Because
V12 240.
It would be the 1240 or 1240.
Yeah. How would we? Yeah, the 1240 I think would probably be the best one for that.
You know, I mean, there's even not the Lamborghini V10 they put in the R8, but there are Audi V10s out there that are relatively inexpensive. That with a little bit of, they didn't do this quite well, and that you can get a V10 for not that much money. There's a lot of, if you're not looking to make the be all end all of horsepower, there's a lot of really cool engines out there for not a lot of money. Like I'm just thinking of it. Imagine seeing a 240 wagon and hearing like a early 1990s Ferrari. Like, wait, what? 12-cylinder noise just screaming by. Doug goes 2125 if you put it in the 240. 2120. Mark says
because the 4 stands for the cylinder count.
Oh.
Yeah. So it would be Anthony goes 2120 because 2120. But if it's because it's 245, that'd be 2125 if it's a wagon.
I'm just gonna call it Sven. How about that?
Yes.
Sven Yamamoto.
Like Svensson.
Yeah. So, anywho, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Look, I mentioned V12 in there, and the boys just jumped on it. So Greg's homework is to shop for those, probably a
Yes.
Haltech, and some other things. No algebra with our cars. But for this show, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you to everyone who watched. Nicholas for the stars. All of our supporters. We can't do this without you guys. Look forward to finally revealing the next vehicle. I appreciate you guys. But that's it. And we'll catch you next week.
Yep. And I'll see some of you at Carlisle.
Oh,
Later,
yeah,
guys.
Greg will do that. Everyone, slap him on the ass for me.